American desert. A vast, desolate space. A land of extremes, where survival is by instinct and life itself can hang by a thread. But nature is not the only force that has left its indelible impression. So has man. It's here where some of his fiercest creations are born, tested, and discarded in a venerable boneyard, a junk heap of metal, machine, and ragged glory. One special aircraft narrowly escaped this fate. It was never fully commissioned by the Air Force, but was one of the most advanced tactical fighters the world had seen. Designed to be the fastest, smartest, and the most lethal, and for a glorious moment, it briefly flew over the land where it now rests. This is a factual account of human ingenuity, pride, and sacrifice by an elite team which designed and built this seemingly invincible weapon, and who only recently have been granted clearance to discuss their work.
We were trying to make a fighter airplane be invisible.
A small bunch of people in an isolated environment set off to pursue an adventure. That's what the YF-23 was.
Northrop Corporation's YF-23 Black Widow II has been highly classified until now. The Cold War. 25 years ago, the threat of mass destruction from a nuclear holocaust was possible and quite probable. With two superpowers embroiled in an invisible conflict of arms escalation and air superiority.
At that time, we had that fearsome potential adversary. There was a very real possibility that we would find ourselves in a terrible shooting war against an extremely heavily armed adversary in the middle of Europe.
With a 4-to-1 military advantage belonging to communist forces in Eastern Europe, there were legitimate concerns for the West's defense systems and to the region's political stability. Thomas V. Jones was at the time CEO of Northrop.
The competitor, of course, in military was the Soviet Union. And they had a lot of good design teams, many of them, working on fighter airplanes. The Soviets could develop fighter airplanes, were capable of defeating ours in the sky. And that was enough for the Air Force to say, we better take a bold step forward with the next airplane.
While the aging American F-15 Eagle held on to a slim advantage in controlling the skies, the potential threat in the air by a swifter Soviet-built fighter like the MiG-29 and Su-37 posed a massive problem. If it was to counter the threat from the east, the United States and its aging air fleet needed a shift in aerial strategy. The first plan of action was the gathering of intelligence and spy information to analyze the threat.
And the threats at that time were long-range, very capable ground defense radars and ground defense missiles.
Through an agency known as DARPA, or Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, the development costs to counter the threat were shared between the government and America's aerospace industries. DARPA's main priority was to implement the force multiplier concept.
A force multiplier is any technology that permits one man to defeat 10 men.
Steve Smith is the former program manager for the Advanced Tactical Fighter Program at Northrop.
To give a single pilot the power of 10 other pilots, he had to be aware of the other enemy first and shoot first.
The Pentagon's ultimate strategic goal became low observability, the ability to fly undetected, now known as stealth.
Low observables became the mantra of the force multiplier technique. The B-2 was going to go in and attack bridges and other transportation nubs to prevent the tanks from coming forward into Western Germany. The advanced tactical fighter was to take out their interceptors who could attack.
The Pentagon's plan was in place, and the race for air superiority shifted into top gear. In the early 1980s, the Air Force began a